if you are doing your RDL properly, Romanian deadlift, you don't need to stretch your hamstring, because RDL is awesome hamstring stretch. This was the kind of a little bit of pose by Nick Tumminello. And by the way, it's not criticism for Nick. I have definitely huge respect for him. He's always trying to push the envelope, question the way we do things. So it's more kind of like a little bit of brainstorming, a little bit of seeing where he's coming from or where he's aiming or where he's going to with this pose. I think the main idea was, if we are doing some exercises in full range of motion, we don't actually really need to do some very specific stretching for certain muscles, because those muscles are going to have enough length. So in case of RDL, or at least this is my understanding of RDL, what it is I just have here just 20 kg bell. So how to do RDL is like, you're just going to basically bend in your hips, grab the bell and just push your hips forward, and then again just going back, going down, going back, going down. I definitely can feel quite a bit of hamstring stretch, that quite nice lengthening. What kind of got my attention was, like, I don't think, at least how I'm usually doing the RDLs. So RDLs are a little bit different to straight like deadlift, where your knees would be completely straight. So with RDL, there is still that little bit of bend in the knees. So you are stretching, or you are definitely getting quite a lot of length from the proximal, so from around your hip attachment, but the fibers or the muscle around the knee is actually not getting into full stretch. And the other part is, in my opinion, like stretching, for me it's mostly relaxation anyway, but when I do stretch, I try to target, let's say, some muscle in all three planes of motion. So RDL would only target the sagittal plane, where the sagittal is basically just front to back. So which would be kind of more, let's say, complete exercise in regards to stretching the hamstrings. I think especially in the sagittal plane, possibly the most complex exercise is a Jefferson curl. So how you do Jefferson curl is actually like super simple. You have your bell, or you don't even need to do it with kettlebell initially. You have it in front of you. You're just going to bend your back, bend your neck, and just keep your knees nice and straight. And then you're just going to lift it like this. And then again, just going down, loading nice full hamstrings with the straight leg. And again, just going standing up. For full range of motion, I should definitely be standing on the step, but that should be enough for the demonstration purposes. This kind of exercise is going to stretch the hamstrings, I think, only in the sagittal plane. So how we could put a little bit more, let's say, like transverse load, where the transverse plane is a little bit more rotation into it. Again, like super simple. Maybe I would use something a little bit lighter than the 20 kgs, but so what you can do is basically just turn the foot a little bit more inwards. Let's say this exercise is I'm going to be targeting more the left hamstring, and then you are basically going to do your almost like Jefferson curl, where your back is actually relatively straight, but your hamstring is kind of tweaked into that internal rotation. You're going to grab it, and then you're just going to lift it up. Again, you're just going to slowly lower it down. I'm definitely feeling quite nice load around the biceps femoris, so around the muscle which is on the back of the, or on the lateral or on the outside side of my back thigh. And then how to target basically the adductors or the inner hamstrings. Again, super simple. You're just going to kind of turn the foot out like this. And again, just do the Jefferson curl, where your hip is going to be into a little bit of external rotation. So my hip is pointing kind of a little bit upward. My back is still nice and straight. And I'm just doing that Jefferson curl and just kind of going up. And I'm definitely feeling quite nice load in my, just let's call it inner hamstrings, but it's going to be your semitendinosus, semimembranosus, possibly your longer adductors, so like your adductor magnus and adductor longus. But especially I think the magnus, because that's the hip extension, and that has that line of pull which is going to kind of bring you up. And then what we could do is actually target it in the frontal plane, where I would possibly just go almost like a little bit to that lateral squat position, where I would just stretch like this. I would try to actively use this leg as much as I can. There's definitely going to be a little bit of use of the right leg, and then again just that Jefferson curl. Again, like because the legs are bent, I can go way further, so I should be maybe on the step, and then again just loading it from the straight leg. and again just going down. With this one I definitely feel more of the inner hamstrings, inner adductors to be loaded. So this was kind of a little bit longer response for very short pose, just kind of a little bit of brainstorming, a little bit of brain exercise. A lot of people would say, like, are you bending your back? Are you kind of loading your lumbar spine in flexion and rotation with these transverse motions? My response to that would be kind of not really, because like I'm really focusing to create that force with in the hamstrings. Your lumbar spine, my rib cage is basically depressed. There is a little bit of that intra-abdominal pressure, and I'm using like most of that, let's say, load is being produced by hamstring. So although the lumbar is kind of loaded, maybe in a little bit of flexion, but it's static, I'm producing most of the force, trust me, in the hamstrings. Okay guys, any questions, any comments, just let me know. Again, this was just something which got my interest, and I love those kind of little bit of like puzzles, like, okay, what is he saying? I don't think it's the same perspective like I have, so let's brainstorm it, see a few different angles, and is there a way how we can do things, let's say, a little bit better or a little bit more efficient?